Woo, the man of tomorrow is here. His voice almost 100%. We're at like, I don't know, 88, 90%, something like that. But anyway, finally got Sovereign Tech out this week. And now you are getting your Q&A for this week, which was also kind of, I mean, I could have sort of pulled it off earlier, but, you know, why not wait until I'm a little more melodious? But anyway, yesterday, wow, what a day for trailers and so much more. I mean, shit, I couldn't believe it. You had the Captain Picard, the Star Trek Picard trailer come out, which is interesting. There was even an interesting YouTube video, which I might end up talking about both on Sovereign Trek this week, which got a dynamite Sovereign Trek lined up for you this month. Wait, did I say this week? When I get to it, when that ends up coming out, this month's May's Sovereign Trek. But there was an interesting video also with Alex Kurtzman talking about the importance of the character Picard and so on. And I think I want you to watch it. I'm not going to give the conversation here, but the clips that they specifically choose to cover in this mini documentary on, I guess you go to the Star Trek channel on YouTube, I think are revealing of what you're going to get and what this is about and what they're trying to commentate on with Star Trek Picard. So yeah, anyway, something to keep in mind, because I thought the trailer, I mean, we'll talk about it more, but there's not much to talk about. Like you see Chateau Picard, right? You definitely recognize that, which I guess was rebuilt after the fire, referenced in Star Trek Generations. I would have been nice to see a little bit of that in the trailer, but whatever. Anyway, and then, you know, you see Patrick Stewart at the end, and I mean, like, there's really not there's more in the dialogue being said than anything else. And the dialogue, even then, I don't know, whatever, Admiral Picard and, well, we'll talk about it on Sovereign Trek. But the more interesting trailer, holy fuck, was that a hell of a trailer, was for the new Terminator movie, that being Dark Fate. I shared all of these on my Twitter account, or on my Twitter, I guess. So you can check that if you want to watch some of those. But fucking A, was that Dark Fate trailer looked amazing. I mean, look, I'm a guy... I did the review on Sovereign Tech during one of the climaxes. I get it that Salvation wasn't like that great of a movie. I really understand that. But at the same time, like, I thought Terminator Genisys was fucking great. I really wish they would have kept going in that direction. Apparently they have decided not to, but you know, James Cameron's back at the helm in certain ways, and who's Tim Miller, I think, is directing it, but whatever. It was cool to see Arnold in it. I mean, and of course it was amazing to see Linda Hamilton, because fuck, if I had a crush on Linda Hamilton for forever. And I mean, look, you know, I mean, here's a deep cut for you. In fact, I need to find this movie. Here's a classic, Black Moon Rising, with, I think that's the name of it, with her and Tommy Lee Jones with like the supercar in it. Awesome little film. I mean, just an awesome little film. Very, very rare. I know one other person, and he's the guy who, when I was a kid, or, well, teenager almost, he's the guy that showed it to me. I've never met anyone else that's ever watched this movie, and you don't get enough of the car in it, I can tell you that. But you do get some of Linda Hamilton. Woo! Bottoms up, boys. Anyway, yeah, but I can't wait for, she's still, I mean, and kudos to Cameron for, I mean, of course they were married, but kudos to James Cameron for, you know, letting her honestly show her age and be an older woman, but that just kicks ass. I love that. I think that's sexy in its own right. I mean, and badass as well, obviously. And very, I mean, you know, talk about a powerful feminist message. So anyway, kudos, even though I know James Cameron's been under fire by feminists in the past, but whatever. I think Dark Fate looks fucking awesome. I think it's coming out November 1st of this year. And, yeah, I'm with bated breath. I'm ready for this. So anyway, let's get into our questions here while my computer is updating once again, but this time it's just the Lenovo Vantage updates. Oh boy, the joys of a ThinkPad. Let's see here. So, okay, we'll open this one up. We got this is pretty good. We got a nice little lineup here. Got a tech question. Actually a fitness question. We got looks like a couple of entertainment questions here. It's nice rounded out Q&A, I think. And also, actually, our album of the week. Get ready for that. But because not that it came out of nowhere, I knew it was coming, but shit. Anyway, here we go. So we'll start with the tech question here. Rabbi Sovereign, thank you. I don't know who started that, but anyway, I'll take it. What am I going to do? Rabbi Sovereign, looking to get a new gaming mouse. And since you're both a gamer and a tech journalist, I'd love for you to explore the cross-section of that sometime. I don't know what that means. But, tell me more what you mean by that. I don't know. like how does one become the other? I mean, I don't know. I could very simply say here that, like gaming is what caused the forward march in the bulk of computer power as we understand it today. Anyway, I mean, like, ironically, a byproduct, the modern world, if you are the kind of person, and I'm not necessarily saying I am, but if you are the kind of person that appreciates the world as it exists today, the modern world, and especially like if you're really loving your cryptocurrencies, now those I do love, you can only thank gamers for getting computer power for pushing it to the level it's at today. And I mean that. And, you can only thank gamers for GPUs becoming a thing. Gaming PCs and, getting into, 3D effects and all this different stuff. You remember Voodoo cards and all that. I mean, that really, that was a gamble. That was experimental. That was a market risk, which doesn't happen anymore because now everybody thinks everything's, quantified because of, all the metadata that smartphones give them or that apps give them or whatever. It's sad. It's pathetic. And it's why I don't give a shit about just about any business out there today, because none of them actually are willing to take risks anymore. A funny thing. So, the market, well, the market seems to like push everything into niches today, which is another reason that you don't get like these really high dollar risks, like really that video cards were, 20, 30 years ago, in the 90s. So yeah, okay, that's about 30 years ago now. It was a total gamble. There were no guarantees that was going to take off or that you're going to be able to sell enough of them to matter. I would dare say that even video cards now are really only surviving. I mean, there was a time, I suppose, there would be some high dollar marks for, getting your latest Titans, from NVIDIA and so on, video cards and whatever, or your Quattros. I mean, Quattro cards are more for the professional industry, which that would still push video cards forward to some degree. But like for the consumer, video cards are only thriving and I think they're really still making money because of cryptocurrencies, really. In fact, I would almost argue that NVIDIA backed off of their Tegra business, not because Tegras weren't the best ARM processors out there, okay, or ARM-based processors, but they did that because they didn't need to. I mean, they're making hand over fist just out of what cryptocurrencies are doing. I'm going to get to the rest of this question, but this is, and I'm not really answering what you asked in the middle there. I still don't exactly know what you mean by that, but I just do want to say that like modern technology, I guess the whole point that I'm making here, modern technology is only here because of gamers. But to speak more to this like risk, this is the point that I wanted to bring up. So I work in PR. Now, a funny thing is that there are in PR, okay, sometimes you have to do what's called ghostwriting. Ghostwriting is where you write something for a client that you have to get quoted in a news source, okay? And some clients, they want to approve it first. Some clients, They give you little like bullet points of what to say or whatever. And other clients, eventually you get to learn their attitude and how they kind of think. And then if you're a creative writer, which I like to think I am, if you're a creative writer, you get to basically come up with what they, with what to say and or whatever. Or maybe they just completely trust you and they're like, look, just get our brand out there, right? Because that's the whole point. Or in many ways, that's the whole point within this marketing stuff. I mean, folks, when I complain about marketing, understand, I'm not just speaking out of my ass or speaking theoretically. I know, I'm in the industry. Like, I know how this shit works. I know the tricks. I know what these people do. So like a lot of great quotes that you think, some people come out with, wow, like that was really insightful, is actually probably being done by somebody who's much smarter than they are, that's working in marketing. And just because that they're working on the lower end of the totem pole as far as business goes, and most people think marketing is the lowest end. I disagree. Marketing is, any honest business person will tell you marketing is everything, including, anyway, this is such a huge conversation. But my point being in this is that you probably don't know this, okay? But me, Brian Sovereign, you are reading my words on the internet, even in places you probably would never expect, many, many times. And you might think it's some CEO for some company. It's me. And I wrote the whole thing myself. And it's funny because like these news organizations, even some of these are like ones for like millennials or some other bullshit. I mean, we're talking some of the biggest sites on the internet. Some of the biggest. I mean, we're talking like Alexa ranking top 1,000 websites in the world, okay, that have my words on it, of course, attributed to somebody else. But you get these news organizations who think, oh man, wow, that CEO, Jesus, fuck, that's brilliant. What a great quote. And I'm like, it's fine. Because, I make them, I get the bottom line out of it. But it's like, motherfucker, that's me. In fact, sometimes it's something I've said on Sovereign Tech that I use. It's hilarious. It's just one of those funny damn things. But anyway, my point in that is that, well, some companies, okay, are able, for however they're able to do this, if it's Amazon or if it's Walmart or whatever, they are able to take gambles, okay, where they can go decades without making a penny off of their gamble. But they just, they stay to the course. Most people really can't do that. Usually you need some kind of alternative funding. For example, Amazon, not that they necessarily had alternative like an alternative business. I mean, now Amazon can experiment with like Alexa and a lot of other things because Amazon, the store, is doing crazy money, right? So that can fund all their little projects. Walmart is another one where they can take decades gambles, and lose money on the bottom line. But because they're Walmart, or for like Amazon, because they're Amazon, their investors will trust them. They can do private bond sales and all these other things. And people are like, well, it's Walmart or it's Amazon. It's going to be around forever, right? And that's the way that they think. The sad part is not most companies can't do that sort of thing. And I understand that. Okay. But the pity there is that the gambles that used to be taken on, no, I think there's a new market category here. We're going to develop it. We're going to sell it. We're going to see what happens. That kind of shit is just gone from the market. It's really gone. And I hate it because I almost want to say that this is and I've like, for example, Samsung, I've applauded them as much as I think they're ridiculous. I've also applauded them over and over again on Sovereign Tech for years now, because at least when they put something into R&D, they'll actually deliver it to the consumer. Like they'll actually put out the prototype. And it's kind of annoying because, and this is one of the, shall we say, problems. Now look, understand where I'm coming from with this. Okay. I don't think there's any perfect system. I don't think there's any perfect ism out there. Okay. None of them are perfect. And I don't really stand behind any of them. Okay. That goes for communism. That goes for whatever. I don't stand behind any of them. I know I have a lot of listeners that have different ideas and come from different isms, right? Different ideologies and all this. I feel like one of the issues with within markets, or perhaps within capitalism, is there actually there's a real incentive to play it very safe and to go with almost not with niches, but quite the opposite. In fact, to try and appeal to as many people as possible. We talked about this like in the entertainment industry now, is that there seems to be no care for, looking into the niches and all of this. Now, if you want to actually like make a sustainable amount of money as a company, you do have to find a niche. And if you do well there, great. But then this is where things get weird and it would seem almost antithetical. Okay. But even within that, you kind of want to play it a little bit safe within those niches, but you're never going to become like an IBM, a Microsoft, an Amazon, or a Walmart or anything like that when you are a niche company. But to not be a niche company, to get to the points of all those other companies where they do so much, you have to be willing to take a loss for decades and have it pay off later. Even Microsoft had to do that, right? With Office 365. That was a huge gamble. It eventually ended up paying off, but that was a gamble done by a totally different CEO, and they knew it was going to be a long-term plan. Fortunately, at the time, Microsoft could still fund all that stuff based around, Windows XP or, enterprise business and things like this. But it's a weird thing that there is this lack of innovation. I know what you're saying. You're saying, no, markets like push for innovation because of competition. Yeah, but that isn't always so. Like there's dramatic innovation that could happen and that have happened over the years that sometimes, like even now, and there's something to be said for timing, like maybe the population isn't ready for it or something. And then, 20 years later, they're finally ready for it, even though it was an idea that was thought of 20 years previous. But like this gets into a weird thing where, and this is an ugly, there's a couple of cases. Actually, I think there's a lot more than a couple, but there's ones that are easily, things that you can look into. Like, for example, you think that there's certain market rules, okay, especially free market rules. For one, like that prices will just continue to go down, and that over time as something grows, as a certain market grows, like prices just have to naturally go down. That and things have to become cheaper, right? Like now you can get a t-shirt for $2 or $4 or whatever, instead of where, just 20, 30 years ago, you had to pay anywhere between $20 to $40 perhaps for a t-shirt or something like that. I mean, adjust for inflation, you get my point. I've heard way too many libertarian commentators say, oh, isn't it amazing that you can get a t-shirt for $4 now? Not really, but because again, these t-shirts suck. But regardless of that, we'll move away from that. There's no guarantee that prices have to go down because of expansion and because of adoption within more by a larger part of the population and so on, and the global market. For example, sushi is always my favorite example to bring up for that. Sushi has not dropped in price at all, no matter how popular it's become. It stays at the same price. You can't. It is just what it takes to make sushi is at such a, you can't exactly automate it for it to actually be good. I mean, there's so many things that go into sushi and so many, different factors that it's, yes, it still falls under the I-pencil process, right? But at the same time, it can't go down in price because it still takes all those special factors. It's just a very unique food that you can't really, bring down in price because of what it takes to make it and what it's made up of. Okay. Where, I mean, especially since, like fish prices, are fluctuating all the time, and you have to kind of account for that. So that bucks a certain market rule, I think. Another thing that bucks a market rule is AT&T. Back when it was Big Ma Bell, before it was broken up by the U.S. government. Okay. We're talking decades ago. AT&T used to have, because of its monopoly that it had over the phone business in the United States, it had all the money in the world to play with. Literally. It could do whatever the fuck it wanted. And there was so much R&D and so many new technologies that are the backbone of everything that we do today that came out of the fact that a company had no competition. And that's the irony, right? Is that you want to say that because, no, competition is good. Competition is what brings innovations and all this stuff. Ma Bell, AT&T decades ago proves that dead wrong. Or at least there is an exception. And I think that there's more than one. But understand, when there are exceptions, these rules may no longer apply. I'm not arguing for, I mean, I think in an actual freed market, you wouldn't have monopolistic forces. They wouldn't be possible. Okay, because, local industry and, local companies and all that would just wipe the floor with anything that tried to go global. But we're talking, as things kind of stand today. But you have all these like market rules that people talk about. But I don't think, but also in a free market, I don't know that there's necessarily like this, and we don't have a free market to really know. Okay, and we've never had one. But I don't know that there is this incentive to consistently innovate and make something constantly better. I would say there's more of an incentive to just corner and hold that corner. In fact, we were talking about on the game, or there was actually the top 8 Genesis games. See, this is the thing. You listen to, you think, well, I don't want to listen to a special about the best Sega Genesis games that ever come out, but there's little fun. I always like to put fun little things in there that I think it's worthwhile listening to it all, because it all kind of comes together. Nintendo had no desire to, they're in the gaming space. There was, there wasn't really any regulation there. I mean, you had something relatively close to a free market. That's how it's been with technology in general. And that's why it's been able to do a lot of certain leaps and bounds. But then keep in mind what I just said, that a lot of what the internet and a lot of what, we have built this modern infrastructure that Silicon Valley is schlepping upon us, all comes out of Ma Bell's labs, all comes out of AT&T's labs back when they were a monopolistic power. They were innovating as a monopoly. That would stand in contrast to what the rules say. Okay. Also, when you're in a free market, look, Nintendo had no real, they're like, no, we own, we dominate the gaming industry. We have no need to make anything other than the NES. Now, NEC and Sega comes in and they start hitting Nintendo's bottom line a little bit. And then they're like, all right, fine. We'll innovate a little bit. But they were just as happy just making the same thing forever. I mean, they really were. That's what I'm saying, is that I don't know that there's some kind of incentive to consistently innovate out there, like in people's minds. I mean, even when you come up with, the NES is one of the greatest little inventions ever, because, how many smiles does that put on people's faces? And if the purpose of life is to be happy, Nintendo has won life. They have won at the game of life. You understand? So, I know, especially when I would identify more as a libertarian and all this. Look, I read all, I've read all of Rothbard's books. I've read all, Mises' stuff, I go down the list and all that. And I get their historical cases and a lot of this other stuff, but I don't, the market that we have today seems to, or the businesses that we have today and ones that seem to operate with very little rules, seem merely concerned with growth and not actually with innovation. And no, growth and innovation are not linked, nor is one required for the other. And look, they're just fucking not. Okay. They're really not. Apple doesn't innovate anymore. They just coast off of their brand name. There's so many, I don't know. There's a real reassessment of things that has to go on with a lot of this. And the pity is, again, that I feel like there's a real lack of innovation in a lot of these different, industries, where there's nothing that like suddenly goes, wow, that really changed everything, or that really disrupted. If I want to tell you what I would love to see as far as disruption goes, is something that disrupts the entire infrastructure, the interconnected infrastructure. That's the beauty of peer-to-peer technologies. Peer-to-peer by its very nature disrupts the infrastructure that is the internet today. It can take advantage of it. It can piggyback on it. Yes, but it can also exist without it. And that's innovation. That's impressive. So anyway, let's, I went way out there. That turned into a huge argument. Let's see if I lose people over that, because, oh no, don't say bad things about markets. Oh. Maybe just evolve the concept. Just because something has critiques doesn't mean that it's a bad idea entirely. Okay. Maybe just evolve it a bit. Just putting that out there. Okay. Reading on. Let's see. So this is all about asking about a gaming mouse. What a world. I figured you might be great. So, okay, I'm going to reread the question. and then because it's not a long question, but then we'll go from there. Rabbi Sovereign, looking to get a new gaming mouse, and since you're both a gamer and a tech journalist, again, he says, I think it's a he. I'd love for you to explore the cross section of that sometime, which you got to tell me more what that means. Anyway, I figure you might be great to ask. Any particular favorites? What does the Dune 2 master use? Now that's a title I'll take. I don't know if I'm a master of Dune 2, but boy, do I love Dune 2. And it is between that and Star Trek 25th Anniversary and Star Trek Judgment Rights, all games from the 90s. Yeah, that's the reason I use a mouse. God damn it. Otherwise, I'd still be using keyboard commands. But yeah, so my gaming mouse. So I'll put a link in the show notes. The gaming mouse that I use right now, I like it a lot, and it's not terribly expensive. And look, like especially over the past 2-3 years, like particularly when I was building out the BDSM studio, like I was really trying to get as much high-end equipment and all this other stuff. And people use the wish list, of course, I think you can type in Sovereign, or wait, what is it? Wishlist.zog.ninja. That should still work. That takes you to my Amazon wish list, which is still active and still functions. Yeah, you can just can you hear Megatron? I still function. I love What a fucking great movie. No, not the modern Transformers movies. No. Okay. But, talking about worst movies ever made, Ellen and I were talking about like worst movies ever made on the Batman quadrilogy reviews, and we've been going over like the worst ones. The second Transformers movie that Michael Bay did, holy fuck, was that horrible. That goes on that list of worst movies of all time, right up there with Batman and Robin, Any Given Sunday, and some other ones. But I don't know. I mean, I'll do anything with her. I'll do anything with Ellen, but oh boy, I can't do it. I don't think I can watch the first Transformers movie was good. The Michael Bay one. I mean, the 85 Transformers movie is one of the best movies ever made. I fucking love that movie. The animated one, that's Generation 1. But like these new Transformers movies, oh man, that'd be fucking painful. You only have one life, and I don't think I could go through those again. Anyway, okay. Stick to the fucking topic here, Stallion. Come on. Okay, so what I use is like I was saying, I've gone through a lot of very expensive mice and mouses. I've gone through a lot of expensive mice. Particularly, like I used some of Microsoft's latest. I've used their various Surface mice, which their $100 offering. That thing like crapped out, the Bluetooth crapped out of it, and it was a nice mouse for a while, really, really slick, but in just inside of a few months, the Bluetooth crapped out on it, and I didn't like that. I have their travel Surface mouse now, and I like that a lot, but that's not something you want to be using long term. That's something you want to be using like, that you just pack away in a little bag on the go. That is not meant for gaming. I sure as fuck wouldn't play Dune 2 with it. I mean, if it's all I had, I would. It's better than a trackpad. But yeah, I mean, and it's what? Is it $30? I mean, it's nice for what it is. But you're looking for a gaming mouse. Again, that is not a gaming mouse. I used to be a big fan of the MX70s, right, from Logitech, and it's still a great mouse. Here's the thing. With gaming, I've yet to be really convinced that a Bluetooth connection, okay, now Logitech's like their 2.4 gigahertz connection, that's very different. That was a dark field or whatever they call it. Like that moves at a good clip, but you have to take up a USB port. And what I'm about to say might make that worthwhile anyway, because you're going to take up a USB port no matter what. But I am a big believer in hardwired, straight USB connected mice, especially for gaming. I think there's a difference. I feel like I feel it. And not only that, but like with Bluetooth and some other, wireless technologies, like if somebody turns on the microwave nearby, you're fucked. I mean, you're screwed, because that'll totally screw with the Bluetooth connection, as to where if it's straight USB, it's plugged in hardline, you're good to go. So I'm a big fan of that. If I'm traveling, sure, then I'll bring like a Bluetooth mouse with me or something like that. But anyway, here, I'll grab my mouse right here. The one I'm using right now, I don't think, I know like Razer, they sell the Orochi models or whatever that are like $150 and all that stuff. I think they're full of crap. I cannot for the life of me imagine where those mice are that much better. And again, if the $50 or even $100 price tag is just so that they can be wireless or something like that, no. And usually I think the price tag is just for they have World of Warcraft mice and you get a million buttons on it and everything. And I've messed with those mice that have a million buttons on them too. And it just, it always seems superfluous. Like it always feels like, no, I'm not going to take the fucking time to like program all that shit. And my brain doesn't compute that stuff. So anyway, I have a Corsair, which they do a bunch of different stuff. They actually make my favorite flash drives, or jump drives. Remember when they used to call this shit jump drives? My favorite flash drives, which are the Survivor series, not the WWE pay-per-view, but the Survivor series of flash drives that are practically indestructible, waterproof, all that good stuff. Corsair does good work, and I've bought their RAM in the past as well. But their gaming mice, I mean, this is where I feel like a company took a risk and said, okay, can we actually do, like Kingston took a risk too. Can we actually like spread out into these areas and let's give it a shot and see what happened. Now, I don't know if Corsair did well with these at all, but their mice are awesome. This M65 Elite, which has an 18,000 DPI optical sensor on it and works on just about any surface, and it has the adjustable like speed of the mouse and everything. It has one extra button on it, which is like this little sniper button. I don't really play first person shooters that much. Maybe if I'm playing Duke Nukem 2 or something, it's handy then, but that button doesn't necessarily mean anything to me. It lights up a bunch of different colors. In fact, so if you're on a Windows machine, it has what's called IQ software, ICUE, and it lets you, adjust the color and do a bunch of, program some buttons. It has a couple buttons on the left and the right. It has two little ones that you can take advantage of that work as like a back and forward in a web browser, but in a game, you can make it do other things. It has a really, really nice feel to it, a good look. A nice mean look to it. I do appreciate that, but it's only $50. Now it's hardline. Again, there's no Bluetooth, there's no wireless capability, but that's fine with me. I mean, it's just something more with batteries, and who the fuck wants that? It has adjustable weighting. It has, weights on it, which I like that a lot. And the scroll wheel feels fantastic. And the nice thing too is that actually when you lock your computer, like on a Windows computer, it will go into almost like a veritable screensaver mode where all the colors will change on it. I think for $50, it's a steal of a mouse. And if you can like find it on sale, like Corsair has sales all the time. If you can find it on sale for like $30, it's a fucking no brainer. I mean, it's a kick-ass, a gaming mouse. I'm really impressed with it. I've done some pretty serious gaming with it already, and it just does the job. I mean, consider, especially like with 18,000 DPI. I mean, consider not even half that. People are winning tournaments and winning hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not millions of dollars for that sort of thing. It's just getting insane now. And so I think when like Razer and a lot of these other companies are charging you $150, I mean, I just think they're full of shit. You're buying the brand name or something like that. And I think what Corsair put out there, I think that mouse is fantastic, and it really, really delivers, and it's got everything you want. It has the weighting, where you can adjust the weight on it. It has a good thumb hold to it. It has a couple extra buttons, which, that's nice. And if you're into the whole, you want to make your computer light up like a Christmas tree, it can do that too. And it does that very nicely. So yeah, for $50, again, I think it's a steal. The MX70, I mean, the MX 75 or the Master from Logitech, still probably pound for pound the great mouse out there, but and you can actually connect that straight wired, even though it has wireless as well. You can go with that. I've recommended that one for years. In fact, I think they have the MX2 out now. But anyway, for $50, I really like this Corsair M65 Elite. I think it's a very slick mouse. So, okay, let's move on to another question here. See how many we can actually get to now, since I went on some ridiculous screed that I'm sure people are going to be so offended by. Okay, here we go. Let's see. Fitness question. Let's do that one. Mighty Man of Tomorrow. I don't know that I'm that mighty, but okay. That's very kind. One of your fans with a female body here. Okay, woo, right on. You're killing it with Zomia ONE. Thank you. Don't stop. Thank you. I don't plan on stopping ever. Zomia ONE is where I am hanging my hat. So, yeah, anyway, I'm glad you're enjoying it. Another lady friend of mine and I have been going to the gym lately, and while we don't want to be quote unquote monsters like you, wow, you must really follow me on various media. But anyway, do you have tips for those with the female form for getting started? Thanks, Brian, and happy 38th birthday, by the way. Thank you. Again, got a lot of great birthday wishes from everyone, and I really, really appreciate that. I'm really honored. And wow, you really, really got me down here. You know, monster, 38, all know some details. Wonder who the hell this is. Anyway, so actually, I mean, this is kind of an apropos question. So Ellen and I have been going to the gym a lot lately, and I've been helping her out with, kind of starting a bit of a fitness regimen. She has very specific goals. I won't speak for her on that, but, she has very specific goals as far as that goes. So I have a very, very tailored, workout regimen for her. You can, I mean, it depends on so you say you don't want to be monsters and you're kind of concentrating on talking about the female body. So I'm kind of guessing you're wanting something that fits more within the gender extreme of, of being a female or being a woman or however you want to go about that. Yeah, I mean, I guess I could tell you like what I'm recommending for Ellen, and that is a lot of high rep, lower weight, exercises. Okay. And kind of perhaps steering clear of the shoulders so much, you don't want to end up, because I see, when we go to the gym, like I see some, and everybody, however you want to work out, that's completely valid. You see some, some people with a female body at the gym where like they've very clearly been working hard on like their shoulders and traps, and it comes off when the rest of the body is very lean. It doesn't look proportionate. Now, you don't have to look proportionate. That's kind of the goal with bodybuilding and with a lot of fitness is, being proportionate. And I feel like that's sort of that I don't know, that doesn't really work. So if you do high reps, here's a very simple rule as far as bodybuilding goes or working out goes. If you're doing high rep, low weight, that is going to give you like a lot of the function and the power that you're looking for, but it's not going to show. All right. You're not going to have show muscles like the ultimate show muscle is the bicep, right? Even though ironically the bicep is not like, I mean, the bicep is a very simple muscle, right? Its whole purpose really is just to turn your wrist in a very real way, but it's such, anyway, you can just make it pop. And I mean, it does more than that, I know, but it's very simple what it actually does. If you don't want to show, if you're looking like to keep kind of that female form, which is kind of what I'm reading into with your questions, feel free to write long questions. I mean, I've been doing whole shows with people's long emails. So, don't be afraid to do that. But anyway, if you're looking for that, and you can be a guy and looking for this, and I think that's great. If you want to be metro or whatever, I mean, fuck, right on. I don't know, whatever. I'm not hip on all those terms, but I'm fully supportive of whatever anybody wants to look like. And, I would go with because if you go high rep, low weight, you're not, again, the muscles aren't going to be showing all the time. As to where if you do the opposite, where you do low rep, very high weight, then you are going for increasing the mass of these muscles to where they're going to show like, all the time. Okay. And some people like to keep it hidden, like to have that power and that functionality, right? Like say, if you want to go rock wall climbing or something like that, you might not want to look like a bodybuilder, but you do want the power to be able to, hold yourself up when you're doing that. And a lot of other things, say in your arms. And, when you have like, arms and back, those are a couple of points where you want to really, in core, you want a lot of strength there. Okay. So yeah, I mean, as far as tips go, if you're looking to keep it like lean and mean, like have the function and power without looking like a monster, that's really what you do is, I mean, you can get in get in a good amount of cardio and you can do your high rep, low weight, as where like the average person does. I mean, you can do really low rep, which is 4 to 6, or you could do more, which is what's considered the standard, which is 8 to 12 reps of say like a bicep curl or something like that. Right. 15 to 20, which is considered the high rep range, that creates a very different muscle. It still gives you tons of power and functionality. Okay. I mean, it's different. It's not lesser, it's different. And, if you're wanting to keep the female form, I would say go that direction where it's more of the high reps, the very high reps. Okay. Now legs, I mean, something I've noticed, I'm not really on Instagram anymore, but when I was on Instagram, I certainly noticed a lot of people like working on the lower half quite a bit, on their legs, a lot of gals working on their legs and everything, and obviously their butt and all this, which dynamite. Ladies, you look however you want to look, and don't listen to any other fucknuts out there who are telling you how you have to look. If you do what you want. But I did notice that it seemed very popular to have like really powerful legs and all this, and in that sense, like you can have like the powerful lower body and the, the powerful looking lower body, and then a different look up top, and that can very much work for you. In fact, it's kind of ironic because a lot. Oh man, I don't want to say this, and this is only in reference to guys. I don't want to say this because it sounds like really, really, really mean, and I don't mean it to be mean. But like I think if you're going for with the female, if you're going for like female extremes, I think you can have a very powerful lower body, and your upper body can look leaner and still look proportionate. Okay, as a woman, I see a lot of guys who, and look, you can read, because I have been reading quite a bit of this, where women, what do they call it? Like the swole woman, right? SWOL, women that bodybuild and work out a lot, where they even commentate on guys who are saying to the guys, you got these amazing upper bodies, but where are your calves? And this is something called chicken legs. Now, again, you look however you want to look. And if you have like a leg injury or something like that, obviously there are limitations to what you can do. Okay. But that's the thing. But I don't think that kind of disproportionate, like, I don't think that affects the female body as much as it affects the male body. Okay. And regardless, in fact, it might even be quite the opposite. But I mean, I'm just putting stuff out there. I know I don't talk about this much because I usually because I'm a guy, and so I generally only talk about guy stuff, like in my fitness specials that I do every year, but just kind of putting that out there. And you can disagree. And, look, I think it's very valid to, I buy issues of Muscle and Fitness. I read that stuff all the time. I like to keep up on even if I disagree what gets put in there, I like to keep up on what are the trends in bodybuilding and fitness in general. And that's a great way to do that. And there's plenty, within those magazines. Do they still have like Muscle and Fitness for Her? I mean, like, there's magazines are great because it's not the internet where shit's fucking changing by the minute. Okay. There is a theme. I think when you are putting together, collating content, okay, curating content for an issue of a magazine that comes out once a month or every 2 months, whatever. When you're doing that sort of thing, okay, there is I think it naturally happens within that creative process, and it is a creative process. There is a natural theme that occurs. There might be one coming on from the editors down on high, or on high down to tell you to have this theme for this issue. That might happen, but even if there isn't that kind of order from the editors, a theme naturally occurs. And I think that there is something very special in the way that information gets curated in magazines. So look to that as well. You don't have to listen to me. You don't have to trust me. I could be wrong. I mean, I do a lot of research on this stuff, and I have, especially for the female body, I've been doing a lot more lately, to kind of put that together, in many ways to help Ellen out here, and also to broaden my own knowledge. But, I appreciate the question, and, I hope those tips help. I totally recommend, and this can be a good thing for guys too. Again, do whatever you're looking for, beauty is in diversity. Okay. And so, go for it. But if you're not wanting to be the monster, then stick in the high rep range and, the very much lower weight, and always, always, always keep really strict form. And if you're dealing with the lower weights and higher reps, that is much easier to do, even though you're going to feel a greater burn perhaps than as compared to the pump that, lower weights would allow, or that lower reps would call for with higher weight. Keeping that strict form, that's everything. So, okay, let's move on from that. Here's a question that's actually relevant to, it's kind of relevant to the Hard and Fast podcast. This is nice. Hey, Stallion, for the Hard and Fast podcast, I know you've mentioned you've been hitting a lot of concerts lately, and it got me wondering, I think there's supposed to be an is there. What is the best concert you've seen? Oh, no, I see. Okay. And it got me wondering what the best concert you've seen is to date. Doesn't have to be metal, but I'm well aware your favorite band is Kiss, so I'm going to guess that. Keep Zomia ONE flying, man. Woo! All right, thank you. I will keep Zomia ONE flying, no problem. Appreciate the question. But the question has a very simple answer. It's not Kiss. I've seen Kiss recently, and there will be a review of a Kiss show coming up on the Hard and Fast podcast. But the best, still to date, the best concert I have seen, and I've seen some great ones lately, but the best one that I have seen this would have been the late 90s, very early aughts. Actually, it was like 99 because this was right after Euphoria came out. Def Leppard's album Euphoria. Def Leppard, I saw them twice in as many years at the Syracuse Fairgrounds, okay, which is a great venue, huge venue, awesome. And man, both of those shows were amazing. In fact, I think they came back the second year around because the Syracuse show, like the Syracuse crowd, was really into it. In fact, I was so impressed in 1999. Now, you got to think back to then. Most people really weren't into Def Leppard at that time. Certainly not in the, outside of the bastions of culture. I feel like there weren't that many people into Def Leppard. I have, interestingly, especially at recent concerts I've gone to, I've been amazed at a lot of younger people wearing Def Leppard jean jackets and shirts and all that. Arguably they could be more popular today than I've ever known them to be in my lifetime, or as long as I've been conscious. I was born in 81, so obviously I was there when, both Pyromania and Hysteria, those two albums went diamond. Not even just platinum. They fucking went diamond, over 10 million. It's insane. But I remember when Euphoria came out, my best friend, he and I at the time, we went to FYE, bought the album, the whole thing, and Euphoria was and still is a fucking awesome album. It is as good as anything they've ever put out. And I was amazed when I went to go see Def Leppard at Syracuse in 99. Everybody, there was the kind of the lead single off of Euphoria was a song called Promises. No radio play whatsoever. Okay. But everybody there seemed to fucking know the song. It was amazing. And it's not like a very simple, yeah song. Like it actually, it's somewhat of a complex song. And I was just in awe that they were into it. And I think Def Leppard was in awe that people knew the song. And so I think they came back the second year because that show in Syracuse was awesome. In fact, I remember Sav saying at the end of the second Syracuse show, they said, Syracuse, once again, you are fucking brilliant. Because they had to know they had some magic there. I don't know if they came back a third year. Maybe they were taking a break from tours or whatever. I haven't seen them in recent years. I want to change that. But regardless, those two shows, and the first one particularly, I thought that first one, both of them were very comparable though. I thought they were magic. They were just, that was the most, very simple stage show too, just like the lights flashing, the whole thing, an impressive light package, no doubt, but nothing too complex, some smoke machines here and there, but that's about it. Nothing too crazy like a Kiss show where you have, Gene spitting blood and fire and, all that, and Paul's flying across the stage and all this. Nothing like that. But it was still like the intensity of what they were performing. Def Leppard is fortunate to have the amount of hits that they do, but also that they've continued to make great music. In fact, that's funny. You mentioned about the gym. This is how themes happen, folks, when you don't plan on them creatively. I couldn't believe it. I heard Let's Go from when I was at the gym. whatever radio station that they were playing, I was stunned that they were playing that there was new Def Leppard being played out loud. And I was like, holy shit! It was off their latest album. When that come out? Was that 2017 when their self-titled came out? Great album, but. Anyway, yeah, Def Leppard definitely to this point stands tall. If I see them now, are they still going to be able to pull off what they did then? I don't know. But I mean, like, they opened up with Action off of Retroactive. That was crazy. And I don't even think that many people knew that song, but that song's so intense, and the guitar is just, Phil Collin is just killing it on that guitar. You don't have to know the song for it to just kick your ass, I mean, it was really, 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 really something. I was very, very impressed by that. So I'd like to catch them again. But yeah, Def Leppard, that 99, that basically, I guess, was their Euphoria tour. That was nuts. And especially since a lot of the songs, or the couple songs they play off of Euphoria, were phenomenal. So that didn't hurt either. But they were really still top of their game. And just the intensity of everything that they're playing, when they do Let's Get Rocked, they do half the shit off of Hysteria. I mean, I think, that night, and now in concerts, it feels like and they don't always happen, okay? But now it feels like the encore is just expected, and it's not a response to what the crowd is doing. That doesn't always happen, and I'll tell you why. Because recently, actually, Ellen and I had seen Hailstorm, and that they didn't do an encore. They walked out, but it was crazy, and that was, it was really nuts. I'll tell that story more in the future, but like, people were leaving, like they were just trying to get out of there. And I don't know if it's because the venue made it like go so long, go so late. There's a conversation to have around that, because that's an ugly bit of business. Why venues make you like wait hours for the band to come out and all this stuff. I know the reason, but I don't, anyway, that's a completely different conversation. But I mean, like Hailstorm said, oh no, everybody's fucking leaving. We're not doing an encore. And they didn't. I was stunned by that. I was stunned by the crowd too. I was like, what the fuck's wrong with you? But anyway, at Def Leppard, especially that first one, like, people wouldn't shut up. They did like 3 encores. I mean, and there's no way that was planned. 1, sure, that's planned. 2, okay, maybe that's planned. 3 or 4, no, that's not planned. That's just like you, like, all right, let's give them something else. They're not going home. Let's give them something else. And man, did Def Leppard fucking deliver. I mean, a great band. One of my favorite bands of all time. Shit, did they show it then? Did they prove it, live? And amazing that Def Leppard's also a band where their songs are they're so technical, and they're so complex. A lot of the vocals and all that stuff, somehow, no backing vocals for those boys to this day. But they don't use any backtracks, none of that kind of shit. They are as live and raw as you can imagine, and they just have all that intensity. It's fucking amazing. I don't know how they do it, but anyway, regardless, yeah, that's probably the best show I've seen. Dream Theater. Well, Ellen and I will do a review of that at some point soon. That was pretty fucking awesome, might take my number 2 spot. But Def Leppard just fucking killed it. So anyway, okay, let's move on from that. So, all right. Yeah, I think we have time. Yeah, what the hell? We'll go a little long since you've been waiting this week so long for this episode to come out. Sav, emailing from my new fast mail address. This is another question here, which I've been using for a while now and love, by the way. Thank you. And I think this email was actually sent before, or I know it was sent before this week's episode of Sovereign Tech. So I'm glad you're enjoying it. Now you have even more reason to enjoy it after what we talked about with what Gmail's been doing, or what Gmail does, that we talked about in the recent Sovereign Tech episode 328, I believe. Anyway, loving the Batman review series with Ellen, and can't wait to hear more movie reviews. They are coming. Thank you. Just booted up the show where you're talking about issues with Podbean. I think this is last week's Q&A. I'm not in love with Podbean, but I haven't had many technical issues with it yet. I just think it feels kind of outdated and rough. The site more than the app. I use the Podbean app solely for Zomia One content, and honestly, as a whole, I do prefer it to Patreon. Thank you for this. I like getting this feedback. Please, anyone else, feel free to send me this kind of feedback. Podbean app is way better than the Patreon app, but the Patreon website is far superior to Podbean's website. There we go. Just to comment on that quickly, I agree with you. I agree with you. In fact, I might I'm trying to like get by because Podbean gives you a free website with your Podbean account. And again, a major part of why I switched to Podbean, A, was to get away from Patreon because they're nuts. But B was also to, to slim down the, costs and production costs involved with the show and with getting it out there. And Podbean, to have that all-in-one solution was really, in my opinion, a no-brainer. But there's some things I have in mind where maybe I'm going to have a more traditional website, but we'll see what I decide to do about that. That'll be something different, and it might even be needed to do some other things with the network. But it won't matter because, again, how I set a lot of this stuff up. So like right now, the technical URL for the website is zomia.podbean.com. But I tell you to go to zomiaone.com, right? And that just takes you to Zomia. It just redirects, takes you to zomia.podbean.com. Now, I do all that on purpose. That way, if I ever change my mind of where the website needs to be, or if I ever have to move it or something like that, the URLs that I've been telling you for years largely still work. Where you say zomiaone.com, that'll take you to wherever I need it to take you to. Same with sovereigntech.com, same with zog.ninja or zog.email. It'll take you where I need you to go. So I keep that in mind. So it's not that big of a deal if that's how I try to stay pretty agile with a lot of this stuff. So anyway, but yeah, I hear you. The website is and I'm kind of limited in what I can do with it, with what Podbean, but we'll see. We'll see. Maybe I can make some changes there. Anyway, reading on. But the content, of course, reading on. But the content you put out is fine and dandy. And that last episode, Bezos in Space 3, is one of the all-time greats. It was a very positive outlook. Episode 2, I really like those. Thank you for that. It's very kind to say. And I agree with you. I like doing more positive episodes, and I'll see what I can do about that. So anyway, and I was thinking about ranting about how I think you overdo it on panning the MCU films, that being the Marvel Cinematic Universe, a little bit. But you're reading an email on that right now, so I'll listen. But I mean, the title of this show, Entertainment is Dead. Nah, that was the name of last week's Q&A. You do make a lot of great points as to why certain aspects of the entertainment industry are lacking for sure, but I can think of current franchises that are going on that you speak highly of. Fast and Furious, for one. Anyway, not a big deal, but did you really give up watching comic book movies, or do you secretly watch them all and have a little bit of fun with some of them? Smiley face. And then he says, peace, and thank you. Great questions here. I have a few here. So I won't don't have to spend a ton of time on this. I mean, is entertainment dead overall? No, not really overall. Again, yes, there are franchises that I still love where things could be done with them, where it would be great and can kind of steer clear of a lot of the failings that the entertainment industry and a lot of the ways that the entertainment industry is really, bound and hogtied right now, that could be avoided. I give the example often. If there was a new Tron movie, you can easily pick up from where Tron Legacy left off and just hit the ground running and make an amazing film that isn't bound by what's happening largely in the world today. So, you don't have to deal with the politics. You don't have to deal with it. And you could be a little more simpleton about it, or you could go deeper because it has to do with our world while at the same time not really having to do with our world. So anyway, there's ways around the problems of the entertainment industry right now that just doesn't seem that they're being taken. And again, I feel like Tron, as I've said in the past, I think Tron basically got dumped once Disney bought Star Wars, because then they're like, well, we don't need Tron anymore. In fact, some people argue that we talked about this. Rob and I talked about this on I think it was on a TIE Fighter Renegades, where there was a Forbes piece that said, the reason Star Trek 4 was canceled was because, well, Star Wars is back out there now, so we don't need Star Trek doing Star Wars. And there's a little bit of truth to that. And I also think that, like, Tron was kind of a similar thing where, okay, we have Star Wars. We don't need to, like, rebuild this sci-fi franchise to have a sci-fi franchise running in conjunction with, the Marvel movies or something like this. I think that was Disney's way of thinking. Regardless, that's a side comment. So, yeah, Fast and Furious. Now, look. You're right. Fast and Furious is I am so excited for this Hobbs and Shaw movie coming out this summer. I can't wait for the next Fast and Furious movie. I mean, I really cannot wait. I love these movies so much. But these are movies that have been going since 2001, before the entertainment industry was dead. So Fast and Furious is something that, like a big part of why the entertainment industry is dead is that they are reimagining and remaking classic franchises. The Fast and Furious franchise has just been going strong beat for beat. And also it has the unique distinction of where the characters, they're all anti-heroes. And they very much exist outside of, they kind of exist, I mean, they don't exactly exist outside of morality, but they exist within a, shall we say, a more primal morality or a more primal ethics and a more primal code. And that's part of what I like about them, is that they don't have to fall into whatever, because really, I think there's a lot of, well, like the Marvel movies have to like stay more populist, and they have to stay within, they have certain boundaries they have to stay within. You know, the Fast and Furious movies don't have to be safe. They can kill off characters, as where Marvel really can't. I know I saw Infinity War, but we know, I mean, the comic book industry, you know, itself doesn't allow for the death of characters. That's a critique I've had of it for a long time, movies or otherwise. Characters can always come back, right? And I suppose the same thing could be said maybe in the Fast and Furious franchise. But regardless, you can do, my point is that with the Fast and Furious franchise, you can do unsafe things, and people expect it because of the nature of the franchise. The fact that it's always been a very ethically dubious set of movies, you know. So Fast and Furious is unique in that. It's very rare in that. As to where, you know, you take another popular franchise that's been going for a long time, Mission Impossible, which I also enjoy that as well, but that falls prey to, you know, a lot of bullshit where it has to stay politically expedient, among other things. So, yeah, I hear you. No, there are great franchises out there. There are still great. I mean, look, I'm going to go see, you know, Godzilla, King of the Monsters. But it's just very rare with the amount of films that come out. The ones that are actually worth seeing and that are doing something interesting artistically compared to the amount of movies that come out, is it might as well be dead. You know, like that's kind of my point. So I hear you. It's not totally dead. Okay. But after a fashion, it might as well be. And I'm sort of to the point, especially with a lot of the reimaginings. I mean, I've been this way for a while now, but like, just leave this stuff alone. You know, I mean, you look at like the new MacGyver compared to the old MacGyver, just leave the old MacGyver alone. In fact, you know, one of the potential benefits of streaming services is that you can make money off of old content, and you don't have to make money off of an old franchise by relaunching it, rebooting it, reimagining it, whatever. And you can just let it exist as is. I mean, that's not only been true for streaming services. That's how networks used to get their start. You know, if you were a new cable network or whatever, is you just play classic content that people have loved forever. You know, so there's always ways to make money off of that old stuff. Just let yourself keep doing that, and just don't bother remaking it. But this speaks to kind of the conversation I was having earlier, where part of the reason that entertainment is dead is it's not taking any risks anymore. You know, fortunately, yeah, we still have some great franchises out there where it's a safe bet, even though they're kind of newer, and it's a safe bet to make them into something, or, you know, to keep making new entries into it. But yeah, I mean, these movie companies are playing it very, very safe today. They're, you know, prestige films and prestige series and a lot of this other stuff. Nobody's really doing that anymore. I mean, Netflix is kind of taking risks, but within taking risks, a lot of the risks that they're taking aren't getting any, you know, there's so much content. It's so tough. It's so tough to stand out. And you have to do all these weird stories like that Gizmodo or Ionine or whoever will publish, where it makes it seem like they're making fun of a show, but really it's just the only way that you can get people to read a story about and try and market a show. I mean, the journalism, the marketing, everything around entertainment today has such skewed incentives that it doesn't allow for the making of great art. Now, you could argue that it's never been about making great art, that it's always been about being populist. I don't think that's true. I think Star Wars created that incentive, because no one ever thought that that kind of thing was possible before. Because, you know, for people to go to theaters, you had to give them something to talk about. They used to be true with books as well. We've gotten to the stage in entertainment where it feels like it's almost a zero-sum game, and you got to go as populist as you can with this stuff. And the niches just kind of like fall away. And I mean, not everybody's dying from that, but a lot of it is. And oh, this is such a big conversation. So no, entertainment's not dead. There's still some great stuff getting made, but it might as well be, because now everything's about the lowest common denominator. And I'm telling you, it was not always that way. It really was not always that way. But it's gotten there. And will I blame Star Wars? Yes. Do I still love Star Wars? Yes. But that's a whole other conversation, because I don't love Star Wars because of the movies, but that's besides the point. So, I mean, there's a chicken and the egg thing there to be discussed. Anyway, but did you really give up watching comic book movies, or do you secretly watch them all and have a little bit of fun with some of them? Eventually I might get to them. I have no pressure to go and see them whatsoever. One of the ones that I think would be a surefire hit would be like Black Panther 2. I'm not going to go see that opening day. I don't really care. I liked Black Panther. I thought it was a great movie, but not for the reasons I think that maybe people were hoping, or that people are told to like it for. But I just don't want anything to do with that crowd. Like Shazam, I should love to go see Shazam. I love the Marvel family, and that's what Shazam is, not Marvel as in Marvel Comics. But fuck, and do I want to see The Rock be Black Adam and everything? Yeah, Black Adam's a great character, really, really deep character, that I'm a huge fan of. But I just don't have any interest, because the way the shit gets spun to people and the way that it's getting made, yeah, I just don't have any desire. Endgame, Avengers Endgame. I mean, I saw Infinity War. I wasn't impressed. And I'm not the only one. James Rolfe, Angry Video Game Nerd, didn't like the movie at all. So at least there's some other like big names out there that have the same opinion that I do, thankfully. Even though he loves all like the singular Marvel films, and I'm not necessarily in that camp. But anyway, yeah, I might get to them. Do I have some fun with them? I don't know, maybe. But a big metric for me with movies is I like to walk away with a message. I like to walk away with some quotes. And either with the Marvel movies or a lot of comic book movies today, either the message just really fucking sucks, or it's stupid or banal, or there's nothing really quotable about it. Or you already got the quote in the trailer, and so, you don't even have to see the movie, right? I miss those days where, and I don't need a Braveheart speech. I don't need a Braveheart speech, but give me something to like quote, give me something to walk away from that makes me think. And that's just kind of gone. And not every movie has to be that to enjoy it. Okay. I don't need a quote from Jurassic Park 3. It doesn't even need to be funny. I don't need any of that. But again, I'm getting told, and I respect people's opinion, that love these things. Okay. But I'm getting told like these are the greatest movies ever, yada, yada. And I'm just like, I don't understand what the hell you're talking about, and I'm not getting the great villains either. I get Thanos as a bit of a step up, but then the bar was pretty fucking low for Marvel villains, as far as their portrayal in the MCU, right? I'm missing the great villains, and that really showed like when Ellen and I went and caught the Batman quadrilogy, like you had just some great villains there. Like Jack Nicholson is the Joker. I mean, you like him more than you like Batman. Even Jim Carrey is the Riddler. I mean, you had some very well done villains. And I mean, even Arnold in his own way, it just, I don't know. Yeah, I've given up. I've given up on them. I'd love to see Man of Steel 2. I hope that still ends up being a thing, because I thought Man of Steel was a great movie. But just in general, and like the other thing I hate too, I know I'm kind of stream of consciousness here. We'll get into our album of the week. Something else I hate too is like everything's fucking getting turned into a movie today. Everything. Every little goddamn character that you can imagine is getting made into a movie, and it's lost its specialness. It was special when the 78 Superman came out. It was special when the 89 Batman came out. It was special when the Christopher Nolan Batman movies came out. It was special when Wonder Woman dropped. It was special when Iron Man came out. That was really fucking special. And none of this feels special anymore. Now I feel like I'm almost, if you're going to theaters to watch the Marvel movies, it's like you're paying, I mean, and you will if you get Disney Plus, it's like you're paying for a streaming service or something. And, you're paying a monthly fee or whatever to go see this like TV series, that just happens to be movies. And I'm just not into it. I'm just not into it. And what DC, I mean, Aquaman was really great. Like that was just a surprise. And the only reason I went to go see that, it was really because that night it was just the only thing that was out there to catch. And that's happened a few times where I've been pleasantly surprised by a movie, because it was the only thing out there. I can think, for example, talk about a risky movie, Dark City from the 90s. Fuck, that's a great movie. And the trailers, I remember seeing the trailers and I was like, I don't want to see that. I don't care about that. That looks like shit. And you couldn't even tell what the hell the movie was from the trailers. But then, my buddy and I, we were, he and I were like, this again, high school. We're like, well, fuck, Saturday night, we got to go see something. We're at the mall. What are we going to do? Let's go see a movie. All right, Dark City, fine. Looks like it's science fiction or fantastical anyway. Let's go catch it. And I was like 30 minutes into that film, I was ready to walk out. I was like, this is crap. I don't want to see this stuff. Get to the end of the movie. Oh, fuck, was I wrong? No, it's one of the best movies ever made. And I'm like, oh, hell yes. So, there's times where ironically, like, okay, what are we going to do tonight? Let's go see a movie. And you go to theaters and you catch it and you do your thing. And it just ends up working, and it just and Aquaman was a total surprise. So that's a new one that I enjoyed. I didn't expect it. So I want to keep myself open a bit, I guess, but just in general, I just don't care. And certainly with the Marvel movies, I really just don't care. Like I'll tell you, so I saw, in fact, I was going to the movies the other day. Obviously this person was catching one of the Batman movies as well. And a guy walks out and he's wearing a Captain Marvel, not Shazam. Okay, a Captain Marvel, as in that movie that's causing all kind of a ruckus and everything. He's walking out of he's walking out, he has a Captain Marvel shirt on. And I'm telling you that go back to like 1994, between the years of 1994 to 1998 or something like that. And even well beyond that. That person, nerds would have looked at that guy and would have been, not because it's a woman, not because Captain Marvel's a woman. That's not a problem. In fact, people love Captain Marvel because she was a woman at the time. But we'd look at that and go like, wait, what? I mean, you would have laughed at him because it's like, what, you're wearing a Captain Marvel shirt? Like, who the fuck wears a Captain Marvel shirt? I mean, like in one sense, it would have been kind of cool, like the fact that there's Captain Marvel shirts out there. But then why weren't there Captain Marvel shirts out there in 1995? When she was getting a big push with a new volume of her, or like volume 2 of her comic book series. Why not? Well, again, that comes down to, the market, I suppose. I don't know, whatever. But all of these like movies coming out about these minor comic book characters or these minor like comic book whatevers, it feels like desperation from Hollywood. That's a big problem with it too, is it feels like desperation. They're just out of fucking ideas. So they'll just throw money at everything. It's like dumb Silicon Valley VCs that will, oh, you have a Me Too product? And I don't mean hashtag Me Too. I mean Me Too as in a copycat of Uber or something like that. Oh, well, I'll throw 20 million at you. Sure. Whatever. And it's just dumb money where, fuck Mr. VC. Why don't you throw that $20 million at, I don't know, a homeless shelter or something and do some actual good in the fucking world instead of give us another goddamned app? Oh, because there's no return on, there's no ROI, no return on investment. Oh, gee, that's what life's all about. I don't know. I thought, like maybe helping people out might be a good thing. I don't know. When I help people, I feel good inside, and the purpose of life is to be happy. Whatever. Okay. And that's the thing is that, Hollywood is just, it feels like it's just throwing dumb money anywhere on movies that like these characters aren't worth a movie. They're not. There's a reason a lot of their comic books didn't take off. I mean, it's not always true, but they're not worth a movie. And, yeah, I don't know. The whole industry just seems so fucked up, so weird. And like, there's no excitement. Yeah, great. A new Terminator movie. Sure. I'm excited about that. Yeah. New Picard series. Okay. Of course. Sure. I'm on, but like with a lot of this other stuff, it's just like, oh, they're making a movie out of this. Oh, they're making a thing out of this. Like there's a new He-Man movie coming out. Too late. Just too fucking late. You should have had Triple H playing that role, and you could have done it 10 years ago, and it would have been amazing. And you waited too long, and now it just all smacks of just pure desperation. And I'll just watch the gold stuff. I'll just watch the classics. Fuck it. And anyway, so okay, now I'm just ranting. Now I'm ranting, and I'm just rambling. So let's move on. Let's talk about our album of the week, and this dropped just a couple weeks ago. Or actually just last week, I think. And that is Rammstein. Yes, Rammstein. I know everybody just instantly said in their head, Du hast. And you didn't even know that Rammstein has a shit ton of other songs. And boy, do they. And a bunch of other albums. Rammstein, I'm a huge fan of this band. I fucking love it. They just had their new album come out. It's their self-titled album, Rammstein. Of course, they also have a self-titled song off of Herzleid, which is interesting because this album, if I were to compare it to any other Rammstein album, would remind me of 95's Herzleid, which might be their best album, depending upon who you ask. I do love Mutter Senschuk. I might not even be pronouncing that one right. Is phenomenal. Of course, everybody knows Senschuk because they had Du hast on there, and some people might know the song Engel off of there. But that's a great album across the board. But anyway, I've talked about Rammstein in the past. But the album Rammstein from Rammstein, nice, simple 11 tracks, sounds very much like Herzleid. Brought in a lot more dancier aspects to it again. Which they have stepped away from for a while with a lot of their recent albums, Rosenrot, Reise, and was it not Lichtspielhaus? Hold on a second. What the fuck was that album's name? The one Lieber ist für allen, the one that is to de Ville, that, which I love that song, but they went with a much harder sound for a good long while, and now they are back to more of their earlier sound. Because probably their biggest album globally was Mutter from 2001, which next to Herzleid, I would say is their best album. And after that, I think they kind of went downhill, where like Rosenrot and Reise, I mean, they're good albums, but they're not like these masterpieces that you can listen to from end to end and just, feel like, wow, what the hell happened to my ass, and that, they're just not there. And they got away, I feel like, from a lot of their dancier, where there's some like some electronic beats within it. And they've definitely gone back to that with their self-titled album, Rammstein. It opens right up with Deutschland, and then there's Radio, but it's actually, Till Lindemann, of course, pronounces it Radio, Sieg Dich, Auslander. I mean, they're all really good songs. Like this is a tremendous album. Then it goes into Sex. That's like the name of the song, 5, Sex. Of course, many people remember their song Pussy from a few years ago, but anyway, but this one's Sex. 11 tracks, and it's a solid one from end to end. This is probably their best album I've heard since either Mutter or Reise. I did like Reise, but it's probably their best one since then. So this is a nice return, shall we say, a return to form for them. Sounds a lot like Herzleid. That's not a bad thing, because Herzleid is an amazing album, with Der Riech so gut, Heirater Mädch, and a lot of those songs. And the thing I love about Rammstein, and I mean, there's some English in this. The thing I love about Rammstein is, they just show the power of music, because you don't need to know what the fuck they're saying. A hard rocker is just a hard fucking rocker. And you feel it, and you just, I mean, especially like some songs off of Mutter, like Links 2, 3, 4, or, Fire Frei and all that. I mean, you just feel the intensity, and you just go with it. You don't have to know what the hell they're saying. And a lot of times it's probably best that you don't. But I love Rammstein. It's nice to get a great new album from them, and definitely been getting me through things at the gym. So another important tip, ladies, gents, Z's, make sure you listen to some rockin' shit when you're working out. That'll really get you put you over the top on your workouts. I guarantee it. So actually, there's scientific proof behind that now, or there's research behind it anyway. So okay, that's it. I'm gonna wrap this baby up. So check out Rammstein from 2019, the self-titled album from Rammstein themselves. I hope this isn't their last album, but It is, again, it's a great return to form. And we'll wrap this baby up. A lot more content to come out through May. I didn't realize I got like a whole other week to May. I was sweating it. I'm like, oh man, I got to come out with like 4 episodes a day. I'm screwed. No, I have a whole other week to come out with more episodes. So whew. Anyway, I will see all of you, and I have more time for my voice to come back completely. I will see all of you on the other side. Woo! Oh man, it's still rough. Woo! That's a little better. All right, I'll see you on the other side.